Horror has always been somewhat of a strange place because while many genres use emotions as their main goals, horror's emotion is much more complicated. It's not something that we as people traditionally enjoy. See, fear is an emotion that many of us do not have a good relationship with. It's generally seen as a negative emotion, which doesn't usually correlate with what many people see films for, a form of escapism from the real world that surrounds them. So then you may be asking, why is horror one of the highest grossing forms of media within the entertainment industry? Well, I think it comes down to one factor. People just really seem to like the adrenaline rush that comes along with horror. I mean, just really think about it. People enjoy things like roller coasters and skydiving. People just enjoy being scared and the adrenaline rush that comes along with it. There's just something so entertaining and sought after by so many people about being scared and pushed to your absolute limits. And in order to do such a thing, horror has to play off said fears in order to cause that adrenaline rush to happen in the first place. If we don't see anything that scares us, then that adrenaline rush won't happen, and in the past videos we discussed things like tight spaces and isolation, but one fear always seemed to come up as well within the discussion of said topics, that of course being the fear of the unknown. The fear of the unknown is something that we all experience. It's what keeps us from doing crazy stunts as we don't know what could possibly happen at any time. And films and media have been using the fear of the unknown for decades. It's something so synonymous with horror that you really can't have horror without it, as there's nothing more scary than the unexplainable. And this has been going on for decades, if not centuries, going back to works of H.P. Lovecraft and alike, but one section of horror uses the fear of the unknown leagues better than all the others, that of course being cosmic horror. So you may be asking what exactly cosmic horror is. Well, cosmic horror is a subgenre of horror that uses the fear of the unknown to the most extreme degree. It's creating something that we really cannot describe or understand that is a threat to the characters within the story. It's often nicknamed Lovecraftian horror because the subgenre was founded by H.P. Lovecraft, a horror author with a problematic personality to say the least, but is mostly known for his works The Call of Cthulhu and The Shadow over Innsmouth, both of which use monsters that even the characters are unable to describe, with being described as so out of this world that there is no word in our language to describe them with. This writing style that is used really allows your mind to wander as you try and figure out what these creatures could possibly look like if there's no human way to describe it. And while the validity and quality of H.P. Lovecraft's work is often questioned, I think that the works that it defined and helped create is really what people are here to talk about. For example, John W. Campbell would also be inspired by the horror style, creating the short story Who Goes There?, which follows an Antarctica research team who discovers a spaceship which they accidentally blow up with a thermite charge as they try and thaw the structure. Within the wreckage, they find an alien, simply referred to as the Thing, which begins to assimilate and take over the base one by one. And if this plot sounds familiar, that's because it would be later turned into The Thing from Another World, and then eventually into John Carpenter's The Thing. And after the success of writers like H.P. Lovecraft and John W. Campbell, of course when film started to get its time in the spotlight, it adopted a similar form of horror often called cosmic horror. One of the first major and well-known examples of it in filmmaking is of course 1958's The Blob, with a creature that came from a rock that we really don't have anything similar to. The horror really comes from what we do not understand, with how it works, with the gelatinous monster crawling and oozing its way into every crack and crevice it can shove its way into to catch its victims. The horror really doesn't come from the monster itself, but from its strange behavior and its unworldly appearance. There is no reasoning with it, there is no communicating with it, it's just a monster that is trying to figure out a way to consume. And while it may not seem entirely too scary now, the films that it inspired played off the same tropes for decades after. But no film would really perfect it till we reach Ridley Scott's Alien in 1979. Ridley Scott and H.R. Giger use a perfect blend of cosmic horror as they create something truly unworldly with the xenomorph. From the very first scene it's in, we have no idea what or how the creature works, as it's something so unlike anything we've ever seen that you really can't describe it in a way that makes sense to our brains. It's a true unknown to us. It's something that our brains cannot really comprehend nor understand. The way it takes over and impregnates a human host is unlike anything we've ever seen in our own ecosystem, and truly frightens us as we cannot fully comprehend how it works. That, combined with the fact that we know that the creature can crawl around in air vents which the ship is completely covered in, causes the fear of the unknown to be the highest it can possibly be. For Lovecraftian horror, it is almost a perfect film. But one scene from Alien really stands out on the cosmic horror front more than any of the others, that of course being the scene where they explore the wreckage of the alien ship. We've never seen anything like it within our own lives, so when we see the space crew enter the hall, we feel a sense of dread as we have no clue what could possibly be within the ship. Then they find the body of a strange alien with a huge hole within its stomach, which really makes our brains wander as we try to figure out what could possibly have caused its chest to burst open like that. Then finally there's the eggs themselves, and when Kane walks over to investigate them, while they look similar to a bird egg, they are however ginormous and covered in a leathery-like substance, once again unlike anything within our own world, and ultimately culminating in this. But while I think Alien perfected the fear of the unknown better than many other films, it is not the only shining example of that I can think of. There's of course the most underrated and undervalued film of the 1980s with John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness, which uses the fear of the unknown to lure us within the trap of an evil demonic prince as he tries to take over the world, killing and mutilating a group of scientists in a way that we cannot truly understand. And then there's 2007's The Mist, about a group of citizens stuck within a supermarket as a mist covers their small town, hiding within it tons of monsters to drag away and kill whoever enters it. This film also has a perfect cosmic horror plot, as we have no idea what could possibly be residing in the mist, as it kind of hides what's ever in there. We only really catch glimpses of parts of the creatures at first, until we get to see the full, smaller creatures later. But I don't think any other film has captured cosmic horror in recent years better than 2018's Annihilation, which drops us into The Shimmer. The Shimmer is a plane that we really cannot understand as a human being. It takes the DNA of everything that is caught within it and combines it with all the other things trapped inside. This leads to horrific amalgamations such as alligators with many rows of teeth, slithering organs, and most famously a mutant bear that can imitate people's voices. All of these creatures really show just how weird and unworldly the Shimmer is. It takes things that we see as worldly, such as human beings and plants, and combines them together to make horrific creatures. Speaking of, nothing in Annihilation portrays the fear of the unknown better than the scene with the mutated bear. The bear, having already killed one of their group members, Cassie, is able to recreate her voice in an attempt to lure any unsuspecting victims out. This ultimately leads to another death of one of their crew members, that being Anaya, but after being killed in the haunting scene with the bear, something truly horrifying is revealed. The reason the bear is able to mimic the speech patterns of the person killed is because the Shimmer refracts the pain and suffering of the brain of its victims into the bear's own body, meaning that part of Cassie was being tormented and painfully stuck within the bear, having to live in constant pain and suffering. This idea is so out there in its horror that we cannot even truly comprehend it. Like, truly imagine what a scenario like that would be like, being trapped within something that is not your own body, having to feel and live through your last moments every hour of the day. It's something so extremely terrifying, yet so foreign to us, as there's nothing within our own world that would make a similar thing happen, thankfully. And that's what makes cosmic horror just so frightening, and why many films use the fear of the unknown to make the audience fear what they are seeing. This is usually why I say when I'm reviewing something that usually less is more, because the less we see, the more the fear of the unknown is able to play its trick. Using something that we really cannot understand to scare us allows our minds to wander with how it works, and allows us to fill in the gaps with something that is more terrifying than any film would be able to show. And with that being said, I hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and remember, if you liked the video, to like and subscribe, and let me know down in the comments below your thoughts on the video, and I will see you guys all next week.